So, Nisqy, theoretically, if you were half as good as you are annoying, do you think you would have won Worlds last year? You gotta break down the relationship for us. You gotta break down the drama. You, Elyoya, eternal rivalry. Which parts of this are real? Which parts of this are banter? Which parts of this for show? What's going on with you and Elyoya? Welcome to EUphoria 2024, Episode 2. Remember, this year we did drop the season. We're available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Wherever you get your stuff, it's there. On this episode, we are joined by Isma and Nisqy from SK, and we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we got to talk about kind of the behind scenes at SK, how they feel about the upcoming split. Also, big win with their 3-0 start, and get a chance to talk to them about how they kind of felt about that. And then, yeah, just how they're feeling about going up against Heretics as well in the rest of their week. So, very interesting episode, and actually got some really good insight from the lads.
Certainly did. And we learned a little bit more about Elyoya versus Nisqy. So stay tuned for that. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to Isma and Nisqy after a super dominant 3-0 week. We were caught off guard. To the surprise of no one who's seen our tier list. But a very generic question to kick it off. Isma, rookie, first week on stage, 3-0. How are you feeling throughout this whole week?
I didn't expect to go 3-0, to be honest, but it felt really good. I mean, it's game by game, right? And when we went 1-0, I was already super happy. Then 2-0, then 3-0. So it really felt like a dream. And I mean, I will work the same to do the same next week. So yeah, it felt really good.
Was it every game a question for you? Like, you're like,
yes.
Oh my God, 1-0, we did it. And the next game, you're like, we're going to lose for sure, 2-0, yeah.
Yes, especially the junglers, it was like, okay, today is Rogue, so today is Markun, then, okay, now it's Mad Lions, now it's Elyoya, then, okay, now it's Fnatic, now it's Razork, so I was really trying to prepare the best I could, visualize the game already and all that stuff. It was actually even hard to sleep at night because I was thinking about it. What champ I should play, how should I play, like the pathing I will do and all that stuff. So it was really fun.
I respect that. You obviously got to play in ERLs and EMEA Masters kind of a lot over the last, since the start of your career. Did you have that feeling like when you went into EMEA Masters finals as well? So is this like the first time you've had this feeling since you were like a rookie?
Yes, maybe at the final of EMEA Masters.
Yeah.
But beside this, no, I never had that feeling.
Never had that level of stress?
No, never.
Nisqy, do you ever have that anymore? This like level of stress where you're like staying awake at night, like super stressed out about the games?
No, not really. I think I'm at the point where I've done it all, kind of. I mean, maybe just internationals. If I play T1 maybe the next day, I'm like, okay, playing Faker. I mean, not even Faker, just like T1.
Yeah.
But no, in EU, not really.
I understand. We've been casting for so long now. Like outside of, unless there's a crowd of screaming people, like 10,000 people, I'm like, all right, we're chilling for the most part. Sweat for like 30 seconds before the camera goes on, and then you just do it.
Then you're fine, natural.
But I'm glad that you're like that. You got that like that energy back. Kind of like the return to rookie era back from the ERL days. That's pretty sweet. We'll talk more about SK shortly, but first we're going to review week 1 as a whole in a format we are calling The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's been around for a long time. It's also a famous movie, I suppose. So just looking at the best moments, the worst moments, the ugliest moments, whatever that means for people. Rob, do you want to kick us off? You want to start with something? You can pick anywhere you want. The good, the bad, the ugly.
I mean, we got Isma on the show. So I think it's good to
start with the good?
With the good, which is the rookies. I think the rookies have popped off coming into this week. Like, obviously, you had 3-0 start. You played absolutely fantastically. But also looking at, like, Mad Lions that first day against Heretics looked absolutely fantastic. We got a ton of rookies that stepped up. Supa got a pentakill to kick himself off as well. Like, I think it's been a really big step up across the rookies. And I think it's been super interesting to see how quickly you guys have adapted to the stage. Obviously, I know there's a little bit of like coming from the LFL or LVP, you have a bit of stage time, but it's still... I mean, you can probably attest to this, Isma. It's still a big step up coming onto an LEC stage and having that much more pressure on your shoulders. How did you try and adapt then, like, kind of coming into that? Because it felt like you kind of took to it like a fish to water. Like, it felt like you were just so ready for it.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I was still really, really nervous coming into the first day. I mean, coming into the 3 days. I was really, really nervous before the game, as I said before, the night before and all that stuff. But when you enter into the game after, it just comes naturally, like the play. After all, you just play league, right? So it's very, very stressful before the game and during the draft. But after, you just I mean, I just try to focus on me, what I need to do, and it's just a game of league, right? So I managed to do it like this, and it worked. So I'm happy.
Nice. And were there any like particular standout guys or players to you guys as well that you were kind of like, oh, I didn't expect them to come in looking as hot as they did?
I mean, not necessarily, I think. I mean, I kind of knew Mad, at least, that their AD would be very decent.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was a rookie that I forgot. There probably is one, but...
Yeah, like, I don't know. For me, I'll go and you see if any other names kind of come up to you. I was impressed by Jackie's, mostly because, kind of unlike you, he didn't quite have the same level of pedigree coming in. You know, he wasn't one of the favorites to come out of, like, EU Masters. He was kind of the surprise pick. And while he didn't have a perfect weekend by any means, like, he played full confidence the entire time, which I think, despite the fact that the ERLs have been around forever, still throws me. Because, like, when you got started, Nisqy, that stuff didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like, players came, when rookies came in, rookies were it was such a coin flip if they were just going to show up on stage, choke completely and bomb out, or be great, right?
Yeah.
And there was, like, no in between. So I feel like the average level of rookies coming in has just gone up so much since, like, when you started, probably since 2019 with the ERLs coming around, with the EU Masters coming up. I just feel like rookies are hitting the ground and starting so much better than they ever did.
It's bizarre to me to think that EM Masters didn't exist, because I started with the EM Masters as well, casting like in 2018. So I've kind of grown with it.
Or you got Challenger League. We used to have to qualify to this league, and it was a mess. It was a hot mess.
Yeah,
man.
But I think it is cool to kind of see, like, as you say, the guys coming out of the stage looking absolutely fantastic, and I think it does speak volumes to kind of how the behind the scenes has grown as well. Because as you say, well, one, being tossed into the deep end with coming onto the stage, but two, I think as well, it feels like at least the coaching staff and behind the scenes has kind of helped to be better at easing players onto the main stage and having a better system that actually lets them play well on stage.
Did you do anything special? Did you have anyone help you out with any kind of pre-game rituals, either in your time at Movistar or in your time now on SK, to like make sure that you could perform consistently? Have you ever worked a lot with a performance coach?
In Movistar, we had a really clear routine that we always did, and it actually helped me to deliver the pressure before the game.
Yeah.
In SK, we don't have, we don't have anything particular, just like at the end of the game before hours, we cut it like at 20 minutes, let's say.
Yeah.
And we start to talk, like to remind what we need to do on game, all that stuff. And I'm just talking with my teammate, and it also helped me to deliver my pressure.
Yeah, I like that kind of recentering. Nisqy, you've been around for every version of gaming rituals.
I'm not that old, okay?
I know. You're not that old. What are you? You're like third generation, fourth generation Midland. I don't know. You're not that old. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you the old guy, but you are. Sorry. Yeah. I'm the old guy, and then it's Rob, and then it's you. So you're not the young guy at the very least. I mean, you've seen every single version of like warm-up routine. You've been in so many different teams. You've been in Mad, who are notorious for this great team atmosphere. Is that stuff important to you? I know you say you don't have nerves when it comes to like sleeping. You don't have that level of stress, but is there like a warm-up routine that's special to you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same routine kind of for the last, I think, 3 to 4 years, or at least mentality. It's like, I think each player has a way to get into game day, in my opinion, and each player is different. Like some players, maybe the day before, I don't know, they go out to a nightclub, or the day before they watch like anime for 6 hours straight, or they only spam solo queue or only spam ARAM, you know? I think it's just important to find what you need as a player, because I don't believe in, for example, that a coaching staff can know what's good for all 5 players and that it matches all 5. I think everyone is different. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in SK, where, for example, I like to go out before the game day. I don't really play solo queue that night. Meanwhile, Isma likes to spam. I think my top laner, for example, likes to spam as well. But I think everyone's different, and for me, it just works. I get my coffee in the morning, just chill during the day.
Yeah, you reset the day
just
before.
Reset. Like, I don't think of anything. I just play solo queue, like 3-4 games, and then we watch anime. Like, one episode now is our thing with Exakick, that before draft meet, we watch one episode, and then we go to
respectable
LEC and we
quick
play.
Anime check-in. We always get fans who are like, what are the pros watching?
Give
me one. You got to give me one.
Okay,
you can give me like a 30-second pitch or a minute to explain why you're excited about this anime.
Right now I'm watching Solo Leveling, and it's like insane. It's like the first episode is like, it's fine, but then the second one is like, it was so good. It was like,
because the first one's just all the setup, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
it's like a setup, and then like you're like, holy, what's happening in the second one? And then second one delivered, and now I'm like, what's happening in the third one, you know?
So if you haven't heard of Solo Leveling, the visual novel, and you're starting with the anime, hold out, even if the first episode seems boring. That's what I'm hearing.
So good. It's
All right. We'll keep it for people at home. So the rookies, I'm super excited about the rookies too. Even the newcomers to the league, I was impressed with how quickly like Ice seemed to adapt. I think it's always easier to probably integrate an ADC than it is a lot of other roles because they kind of do the same thing no matter. They get the farm, they do damage, they hang out. But I was still pretty impressed with that. I'll go bad next. I'll just say it. The elephant in the room. KC03 start. It's bad. It's real bad. But I guess the question for you guys both is like, how bad is it really? Do you think KC fans should be scared? Nisqy, I know you haven't. I'll go to Isma first. Are you worried at all for KC? Did you think they were impressive in week 1 and that the 03 might be misleading? What did you think overall?
Careful, okay?
Careful, think about it. Take your time.
I mean, to be honest, I think they face actually 3 good teams. Even if people are saying that Mad is not that good, in my opinion, they are. I mean, I played with them as well last year, and I think they will be really good. And they showed kind of good gameplay, in my opinion. The 2 first game against Fnatic and G2, I feel like they played really well. Especially Upset, I think he played really, really well. And against Mad Lions, feel like Top choked a bit.
Yeah, it was a struggle.
Like Akali got really fed, then he played really well. So I don't think there is anything to be worried about. It's only week 1, and it's like so much game. I mean, it's 6 more games, right? But they will face a less better team now. So to be honest, I think they will bounce back, and I think they're still a good team.
Yeah. Rob?
I think they're just chaos. Like when it gets to the big game, it's just like, what is happening for a lot of this? Where it just feels like everyone's all over the place. But I do think like once they kind of get into a bit of the split, they'll be able to like wrangle that in and make sure that's a little bit more cohesive. Because I mean, the early game still looks good, right? Like they're still getting good advantages, as you say. Like I think Upset looked great, and I think there was just like moments where they could have set themselves up better for success and kind of like played through some of the advantages that they picked up or even advantages they got from the draft. But I think that's just a learning curve, which obviously you've got like guys that are stepping up, like Saken stepping up again, coming into LEC. I think Bo starting to look good as well. Yeah, it's just like, just get a bit of time and they'll be fine.
Yeah, a bit of a rough weekend for Cabo. Also, the team really struggled to ever 5v5.
Yeah,
they literally never team fought once. I'd have to double check the stats. I was looking last night, but Bo had like 0% team fight kill participation, which is a weird stat, so I won't get into it. But like, essentially, they never literally fought as a group.
I did watch one team fight. I think it was Rift Herald, where Bo just like runs in immediately, like helicopters going. Down to like 10 HP immediately gets out of that, and it's a 4 versus 5. It's like this team is not on the same page at all. But I think in time they'll get there.
They'll probably get there. Nisqy.
Yeah.
I thought that after the 2 first games against Fnatic and G2, they looked decent. But then I was like, okay, if they look decent against this, they must beat Mad because on paper for me they should beat them. Like they're not rookies. They should be better players right now than what Mad should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then when I saw the game, I was like, it's worse than my solo queue games. You know, it's like they don't fight as 5, as you said. I feel like they don't really play around the strengths of their players. I don't know if that's a draft problem or a meta read problem. I feel like they don't play towards their draft as well. Like when they have enemy team has 3 AP and they don't really buy that much magic resist. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I feel like they're very lost in mid game. Their team fights are terrible in my opinion. But I thought they were fine in the first 2 games, but then I saw Mad, I was like, something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong and sucks, right? Because I think they're actually a good roster on paper, but if they suck, that's better for us because that means you have a higher chance of winning as well. So yeah, I'm sad that they lost, but I'm also happy at the same time because that means it's one less opponent. So
one thing that I noticed cropped up a lot this weekend that I have really strong opinions on. So I'm listing this on the bad. It could even go so far as to be ugly. Lucian in Europe. This champion is useless. I looked it up and I'm coming in hot with the stats, which and they're like super cherry picked, so bear with me, right? But last year, Lucian had a 32% win rate.
Okay.
The entire year. By comparison, in LCK it was 53% and 45.6 in the LPL. Like, we suck. Now, in years past, it's been better than that. But it's 0-5 right now. I don't know. How do you guys feel about playing with this champ? Because every time I hear AD carries talk about it, they want to add a caveat. But like they're like, you don't understand. In scrims, blah, blah, blah. Oh, if we did this tiny thing a little bit different. And I can't tell anymore if they're just coping or if this is actually like a good pick for European. I don't know. It also, obviously, it's not just the Lucian. It could be our support's not playing as well around it. But how do you guys feel about this pick? Because I dread it every single time I see it locked in.
Exa told me before the LEC starts, because we were playing that champ a lot and face it a lot, and he told me that this champ in official looks worse, and he was right. Like actually, it looked way worse in official. In scrims, it's really, really strong.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think it's mostly because I feel like in scrims, people are not scared to dash in. But then you go on stage, you don't see the jungler, you probably don't dash in. And then also, I feel like in scrims, there's way more kills, and Lucian loves that. And yeah, I mean, I think if it's stage and it's 20 minutes in, there's only 4 kills. One team has an Aphelios, one team has a Lucian. The team that has Aphelios would probably win unless Lucian smurfs it in team fight. So I feel like usually it's easier to be on the side that just waits rather than playing the aggressive side, in my opinion, especially in the first weeks. So I think that's why they kind of struggle. Because also I think when you play Lucian, you have to be really careful when you dash on mid. It's like you have your own timings, and it's so easy to int on the champ as well, because if you use your dash forward, you're kind of sitting duck there. So yeah, I mean, also I don't think EU ADCs are necessarily insane at Lucian either, I would say, compared to LCK, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't care about this champ that much.
I told you guys not to worry about the camera. So for me, EU pros, if you're watching, please stop picking this champion. We've tried. You've had 2 years. You can pick it against SK if you want. You can, you know what? You can just like ego check. You can pick it against SK, and if you win, I'll have to apologize. But until then, please stop. Like, I don't know. I'm just so, every time I see it locked in, like, I get Varus, right? You get lane prio, you scale well, you abuse lethality, you can go on hit, it's a flexible pick. Like, I get the pit value pitch of Varus. Lucian, it's like, all right, well, you're not really winning push in the first few levels, but I guess we're waiting for your first item spike, and you're maybe going to build lethality, kind of. It's like, what am I waiting for? When do I get to see this champion? When is this champion guaranteed to do something?
I mean, actually, I think in EU, Lucian mid has probably a very high win rate.
Probably. This was just bot lane that I looked at.
Yeah, because I think Lucian mid, I think mid laners, I won't say they have a better understanding of the champ, but I think they actually do.
Smarter players, just
more handsome, less passive in lane, the classic.
So yeah, I think if you see Lucian, it might be mid. Maybe I'll put it out against the Heretics, but
that's what I was kind of surprised at, because I actually thought we'd see more like Lucian and Tristan and stuff mid, and we get like Lilias and Karthus and all jungle. So like, do you think we maybe will see it as it starts to, not to like spoil anything on yourselves, but like, do you think it's in the works for teams, or do you think it's something that is just not going to be seen?
I feel like if Azir keeps staying in the meta and control mages and like champs like Poppy and Xin and all that stuff and Nocturne and whatever, and Nico, I feel like it's rough to play Lucian, especially on stage, because the games are very slow. And I feel like if it's only team fights, then just pick a mage, right? I feel like during playoffs, it will probably come back, but I would say in the games that really matter for best of ones, I doubt you will see it. Like if people play it, it would be probably me and Caps, I would say, just because we don't really care that much, I would say, about best of ones that much. And maybe Monite, I guess, but yeah, I think you probably won't see it now.
On the subject of kind of like the champion pools, I'll say in the good category, Xin Zhao looking super busted on this patch. Like Isma, I don't know how you feel about the jungle pool right now. I think we're much more supportive day one. You kind of branched out a little bit across the days. You don't get to play your Nocturne.
That's what I'm sad about. Yeah.
We were talking about this in the first episode. We're like, Isma is the Nocturne guy. But sadly on this patch, everybody is the Nocturne guy. But how do you feel about the jungle pool right now? What do you think is the strongest? Like, what's your perception?
I think it's very open. I think you can play anything. I mean, we mentioned Lilia and Karthus. I think those are really playable. I think it just depends on... I feel like people are playing what they are comfortable on, at least for the first week. But I think everything is playable. We even saw Graves. BDS, I think, played Graves. Yike played Viego.
Yeah.
Like people played a lot of champs, and I think there is a lot of champs that is open. I mean, of course, there is... stronger champ, like I think Nocturne is really strong. I think Xin Zhao is really strong. and that's it.
That's kind of the two big ones. Like
Yeah.
Zin's at
Yeah.
11 picks, Nocturne's permaban, so
Permaban,
he's got one
yeah.
pick, right? Which he lost hilariously.
Yeah.
But it's still a strong man. We swear it's broken. It's still broken.
It was into G2.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah. It's a bit of a struggle. I guess let's hit the there's two more things we got to hit in this segment. Let's start with the one that's ugly for SK. Cliff Phillip, you can roll the clip here. This is a super BM moment on the podcast. We're only going to play this clip because SK won this game. But here you can see legendary Bard enthusiast swing and a miss, the complete whiff. Shout out to Doss. He just whiffs the Q follow-up on a Bard ult. It's tragic in their first game versus Rogue. At this moment, I was like, there's no way you guys are coming back. You're making this work. The rest of the game, played great, totally fine. But that single moment, I remember being backstage and being like, because it wasn't just a little bit wrong, it was completely wrong. So shout out that.
He did have an excuse.
Okay, what was the
Which I
excuse?
understood. Because, he had the game sound. Usually when you play Bard, you need game sound.
You need game sound,
to
yeah.
hear your ult and whatever.
The little thing. Yeah.
And he told me that he had no game sound or like very low, like abilities, whatever. So he could not really hear when he had to queue.
Yeah.
But then we went practice tool and I had no sound. And I just did it, and I was like,
Yeah, because there's a visual indicator.
I was like,
and we've been playing this game for how long, many years?
Yeah.
It's
I know,
Sonya's timing.
because the day after we go into practice tool on his PC, and he just does it,
Yeah,
And then I come and I'm like, I want to do it.
Look, first game on stage, everybody
It's
gets
fine,
one.
you know?
Everybody
It's
gets
fine.
an oopsie.
We won the
Everybody
game
gets
anyways.
exactly. You won the
And he
game.
actually
All that
had a
matters.
decent game outside of that. Like, he's really
Yeah.
good on the roams. Like, it was
Yeah.
actually a good game, but it was just, it was very fun.
Yeah, and so for context, this is Doss. He lands a Bard ult in their first game versus Rogue. The lineup is literally perfect to get the double stun on the Q afterwards, and he just whiffs it. If you want to watch the
Happens.
clip, you can check it out on YouTube. I'll check this episode out on YouTube. But look, happens to the best of
Happens,
us.
yeah.
Again, it gets to be funny because you won the game in the end. It would be sad and upsetting if you had lost. It would have been a review point forever. But you won, so now you get to laugh it off, and that's a blessing. Things that we don't get to laugh off, potentially. Our tier list, Rob. It is in the ugly side of the good, the bad, and
we
the
can
ugly.
just embarrass them. We don't have to worry about us as well.
Okay, so yeah,
Heretics 8 years?
I thought for sure that they would hit the ground running. Okay, yeah. You know what happened immediately after this episode came out? 3 different members of teams messaged me, and they were like, they are losing every scrim. And I was like, thanks, guys. Thank you for showing up now and letting me know that.
Also, we just permanently have the Mad Lions guys reaching out to us saying that we're D tier casters, which is
Yeah, that's a
fun.
classic. Yeah, the Mad Lions Koi fans are not super pleased with us. So things we were wrong about. Most things. Yeah. Basically everything. SK obviously hitting the ground running. We were super wrong about Mad Lions, and that's the one that surprised me the most. And Isma, you've obviously played with these guys. I knew that they were aggressive. Right? We saw it in the Mia Masters when you guys were playing super aggro. Normally when teams are aggro in their regional leagues and you bring up most of a team, they get skill checked in lane and LEC and they suck. That did not happen. You played with these guys for so long. What's your thoughts on that play style, on that communication?
I mean, even last year when we scrimmed LEC teams and stuff, we were playing really aggressive overall, and it worked pretty well. So, I mean, I think they are just doing the same as we did last year. I mean, obviously they are better now.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid for them. I think it will work well. I didn't expect them to play that well on the first week. I think the first game was really impressive, and I think they will keep scaling a bit Astralis last year. I feel like this team was playing really aggressive, and I feel Mad Lions is playing like them but with better players, better mid, better bot, better jungle, and better top. So I think this team will actually do really good.
Yeah.
And how did you feel going up against them then? Obviously you're I know you guys inside and out. I know exactly what you're going to do. Was there a bit of that?
Yeah. I mean, so as I said, I really think before the game, because we had the draft, I was okay, he will probably play Xin Zhao. I know that maybe late invade is not bad. Maybe I can do it. And I knew their bot lane was playing really aggressive. So I was okay, probably they will trade. Probably we could dive, and it's what happened. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, worked out super well for you guys. Then now we get to answer the number one question that has been asked on every single platform. This is the number one question.
Number one question.
We're going to do more community questions later in the episode, but we'll start with this one. You gotta break down the relationship for us. You gotta break down the drama. You, Elyoya, eternal rivalry. Because the thing is, it's one of those ones where initially, because we had you on the episode together last year, and you guys were like, "It's fine, it's whatever," and then you go on Twitter and you're like. Did they have like a pistol behind their back during that episode, like gun under the table, ready to shoot each other at a moment's notice? Like, I think it's so hard for me to tell, like, which parts of this are real, which parts of this are banter, which parts of this for show. What's going on with you and Elyoya?
Okay, I mean, I thought there was nothing, but I think there's still not that much. But for example, usually before games, I talk to my ex-teammates and like I hug them and I say hi and whatever. But he didn't look my way. He didn't like say hello or whatever before the game, right? And then we go on stage, we play. And then even at the end of the game, I still wanted to like hug or like say good job. And then he just put his fist like this to like say good job. And he was looking the other way. I was like, okay,
all right.
Like it's fine. Like,
so it doesn't sound like there's any bad blood on your side.
On my side, there was nothing much, And I was like, okay, I guess, And then I go on Twitter, more banter, right? Because we won.
Yep, sure.
And then I think I made a tweet about like Kameto, where he said, we play Matt tomorrow. And I was like, go cover bot, like they don't cover, go dive bot because they don't cover. And then I think he took that personally. And then he was like, I was like at 2 a.m., and I was like, I was in my bed, And then I'm like, what's going on,
Damn, bro.
And then, I mean, he said on stage after in the interview, I think on Monday, and then he was like, yeah, it's better this way, the league. So.
And I agree. Like,
I just hope it's not personal.
Yeah.
Because I don't think... Like feelings and everything should not get hurt by it.
Yeah.
But I felt like his response was kind of aggressive on Twitter. I was like,
sure,
okay, I mean, I don't care that much as long as it's show. And I like to flame as well. So
look, all I'm saying from an outside perspective, it's great. So if you guys do make up, please don't tell us. Please keep it going. You know what I mean? Please keep it going. Please don't tell me. I want to believe. You know what I mean? I want it to be cut together like reality TV, where you're like, actually, we're best friends and everything's fine. It was just rough there for a little while, and all we see is it was rough. We cut everything else out of the clip. Just
it's pretty fun.
Keep the drama going.
I like it. I think it's good for the league in general. I feel like not enough people do it, so.
Yeah, I mean, we love it from a view. From it makes me super hyped to see the rematch.
Yeah, 100%.
Or potential rematch in the best.
I mean, I hope we play them in playoffs. I think it will be. That will be a good one.
I will say, I think that's one of the big. Well, at least if we're looking at like still going good, bad, and ugly. I think that's one of the good things for me has been like
the
just
fandom.
Fans. Fans has been so sick. I mean, you were talking about like there's a guy who brought a drum in. You've got like cashews crashing
like multiple megaphones have been confiscated from fans on the way in. They're like down to go.
Yeah, but even like the cheering and all, like I know the Carmine Corp fans are there and they're like cheering at the stage, and then they're like looking. There's like the stream behind them, so they're all jumping in onto the stream. You got like the Madeline Coy guy. Like it just feels nuts. Like the game that I was casting over the weekend, I felt like I was casting a finals with the amount for the Carmine Corp Madeline's Koi game.
Yeah,
I was like,
crazy.
This feels like I'm casting a finals. There was that much at stake between the two teams. It's so sick.
Yeah, does that affect you at all on being on stage? I know that you've played on super big stages. You've experienced the whole K-Corp you've experienced all this fandom, the Spanish-French fandom coming through. Were you ready for that to be in LEC too? Because I think LEC last year was comparatively, like there were still big fan moments, but comparatively very chill.
I mean, I prefer this than like I really like to play on stage.
Yeah.
I prefer to play on stage than to play on the office, for example, or whatever. It's very fun and it feels way more realist. So for me, I really like it.
Yeah, we love it too. I hope it keeps up.
I hope it keeps going. Eh? Also, it's like so funny because there's like you can see that there's just sides. It's like when there's Koi fans. Or Koi, I don't know what that even
Mad
called.
Lions, Koi, you're fine. MDK,
Koi, something.
Yeah.
Then they cheer up with Fnatic, and then when Fnatic plays, they also cheer for them, and then Fnatic cheers for them as well because it's like Spanish players and whatnot. And then when KC plays, their fans cheers on them, and everyone just boos them. But then when SK plays, then KC fans also cheer for us.
There's a meta,
and then the Spanish people boo us. It's like
they've got this like flow chart. All right, if Fnatic are playing not versus KC, we can cheer for these guys. If these guys are playing, well, they've got too many French players, so we can't.
How many players from this region?
There's actually an equation that they've distributed amongst the fan bases. It feels like, I mean, awesome, banging week one. Thanks to everyone who showed up for that, or even watched at home. That was sick. Like week one was awesome. But focusing in now more on SK. I'd love to know what you guys both thought of SK last year, watching from the outside. This was a team that started so strong in winter. kind of struggled through the rest of the year. What was your like general read on the team from last year? Either.
You want to go first?
Whoever goes
I go first? Okay, you can think. I mean, last year I really thought they were really lost in mid-game, and I didn't think their laners were necessarily like punishing or whatnot. I felt like they had a meta where Vi was meta and Elise, and that's when they were shining the most. But I felt like if that was not in their champs or like in their draft, they were very, very lost. But yeah, I think I always thought they were decent, but never able to reach like the top 4, I would say. Yeah, I think that was kind of my opinion of them. I mean, also it was a very different roster, right? I feel like their ambitions was probably not as high as this year's, I would say. So yeah, I think for me last year they were kind of whatever.
How do you feel?
For me, I felt like, I mean, Winter, I felt like it was kind of bot diff. I feel like Exa and DOS played really, really well in Winter.
Yeah.
With range support, Caitlyn, Lux, with Lucian Nami, Zeri Lulu and all that stuff. And Marcon as well, like with Elise, I remember, I think it was in Winter, that he played really, really well.
The Elise was the G2 game where he just like wandered in.
Yeah.
G2 were still salty about that game for like the entire year because they're like, there's no way he should have been there. It was an int play, but it like worked out perfectly.
So, and after this, I feel like maybe they were already happy with what they did. And maybe they, not ego, but kinda, I feel like, maybe they relax or whatever, and it went bad for them. I mean, bad for them. They still made it to playoff and to season final and all that stuff, but I think maybe after Winter they got a bit chill or they didn't work as hard because bot lane looked worse. Like maybe in Winter they were maybe like top 3 or top 2 even, and after like they relax a bit. I feel like, and in summer I felt like Irrelevant really like was way better than in Winter, and that's it for my impression of the team. Felt like in early game it was hard for them, and they were always kind of comebacking as well with like the scaling champs and all that stuff. And maybe it's a bit different this year.
Yeah, I agree, especially in summer. Like I think Irrelevant is a guy who's either quietly doing well or very obviously doing well, as in the case of like your guys' Jax game this weekend, right? Only person to have won on Jax, which is super cool because he's also the Jax guy. It's like perma banned against him, right? So far he's the only one to win on it. That's pretty sick. But despite that, like it felt like there were coordination issues too. I remember just begging, like just put Marcoon on something that ganks early. Stop putting him on Wukong. There was these tragic Rumble Wukong games where like the Rumble ult comes down and like 8 seconds later the Wukong ult comes in. And I mean, really hit the ground running in Winter. Looked so promising, and then it kind of just fell apart over the course of the year until even in season finals that series was.
It wasn't against BDS. I think
it was BDS. It was in the lower bracket. They just got obliterated. But it feels like a lot of room to rebuild. You guys, my fear from a sports narrative perspective, I'm a paranoid boy. It's like, are you just going to repeat the same pattern of last year?
No. No. I mean, the first
is
thing...
it just hitting the ground running and
I mean, even after first day when we played really good, or even when we had decent scrim performances and whatever, I was like, you don't care. Like, as long as like you have to play that good on stage, And then even when we won first game against Rogue, I was like, guys, enemy team was very boosted today, like, please don't get cocky, like, just play same tomorrow. And then we did. We beat Mad. I was like, okay, same again, it's whatever. It's on the regular season. And then when we beat Fnatic, I was like, okay, you guess we played good, right? But I don't care about this week, it's on the first week. And I felt like everyone shared the same sentiment because Exa and DOS were also like, it was the same in Winter last time. And then not that they got cocky or whatever, but they stopped maybe a bit and they got way worse. So I think everyone is aware that it's not about one split or two splits. It's about like making it to Worlds and season finals that matters the most. And even if we're at the top right now, if in 2 months or if even next week we're boosted, then everyone will already forget about us. And I don't want us to get like ahead of ourselves, especially because I have a rookie to my left. So I think he needs to keep his head like pretty high. And I think it can be hard at times when you're good. Everyone says you're good. You might think you're the best and whatnot, but I feel like, in general, in this team, I feel like the ego will be kept in check, hopefully. And I think if it does, then we will do very well. And if it doesn't, then that means something will happen pretty badly. Yeah.
For both of you, having coming into the new teams, how do you feel like your role or identity on the previous teams you were in versus now has changed? Because it feels like, I mean, like we've seen the comms of like Nisqy being very active and vocal in comms and like that kind of stuff. And like Isma, obviously you're going to be taking a role which is like less, hey, I'm going to be like skirmishing and fighting all the downtime like you were doing back on Movistar Riders. But it still feels like you guys almost, your team as a whole has a very cohesive and good understanding of how you want to approach the game. So how do you feel like that has kind of changed coming from your past teams?
I feel for me it's the same role, I would say.
Okay.
Like my role last year was to kinda be useful in the game. Like
always good for jungle.
Yeah. Like my role was actually only to be useful. Like I need to be useful on the games. Kinda I need to do things. Like I need to play the game, and I feel I'm kinda doing the same for now as last year. So.
Do you just to follow up there? Do you mean like your job was to be really active in the early game?
Yeah, I would say yes. Like I feel for me the jungler needs to be. I mean, right now in 2024 and for the past years, I feel like jungle is not anymore something that needs to farm a lot, or depends, but rarely. And I feel like the role of the jungle needs really to be active on the game.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense then. So would you consider yourself a leader in any regard in your top of Movistar? Or are you kind of a guy who really wants to focus and be set up to focus on your own play?
I would not call myself a leader. But I mean, at least in early game, I really try to push what I want to do. Like if I feel a dive or whatever, even if my teammates are like doubtful about it and I really feel it, I will push it hard. And I rather do this and try the dive, and maybe we fail and we all die, right? But at least we tried it, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, it failed and it's fine, you know. But I rather do this than like maybe I adapt, I don't do it and all that stuff, and in the end we cannot review like was it good, was it bad?
Yeah.
We will never know. So I really try to focus on this in scrims as well, and it worked pretty well. So I will keep it.
Yeah. And Rob mentioned it earlier, Nisqy, but comms. Obviously, we got to hear in a number of clips this weekend, and at least one that we showed on broadcast. You're super, super vocal, and I've always had the impression that you're a pretty vocal player. Do you feel like you're more in a position to lead on this team than you were on past rosters?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this year or this split, I guess, is the first time that I lead most in game. I mean, I always thought I could lead in general, but I felt like in my past teams, I always had someone else do it, and I would just be like the second guy that would either like validate or have other plans and whatnot. But I feel like coming into this SK roster, I'm kind of the veteran, and usually veterans lead games, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's also rare for mid laners, I think, to lead in general. Usually it's either the jungler or the support, right?
Yeah.
So I had to like try and whatnot, and then in scrims it was going pretty well. But I feel like it also really helps for me that just my team just listens to whatever I say. And it's not like I say, oh, guys, let's play mid-top. And then my jungler or my AD says, no, actually, I want to play like mid-bot. And I'm like, no, like, let's play mid-top. You know, it's like if I say something, I feel like it's just done. And even though, like, I have a philosophy that's like, even if there's a call, and let's say I want to play for Drake when Herald is up, and they do Herald, we do Drake, and then we go bot, and they get like 2 towers top. I feel like if you make the same play as 5, and everyone is on the same page, even if it's on paper, it's a 3 out of 10. If you're all on the same page, it will become a 5 or a 6, and then the game is still playable. But I feel like when you have different plans and then some people are not in it and whatnot, then I feel like the game just becomes so much more chaotic and so much harder.
Yeah.
And I think that's why our games don't seem that like one-sided. I feel like when we're ahead, but we win the game at the end. And I feel like that's just because we all trust, and I feel like we just listen, and we kind of know how we want to play as of now, at least in the first week, right? But yeah, I would say I talk a lot in game, but I think it's also my teammates just listen very well, and they give their input on stuff, and like they give the information needed for me to make also the plans. And I think, Isma, for example, I think is really good when he talks not that much and he just focuses on his mechanics. So yeah, I would say everyone has their own strengths, and I think right now I'm trying to be the leader, I guess, in game. And I mean, in the future, it would probably be my jungler and my support that will take it over. But as of now, I'm trying at least to lead it.
Sure.
But it helps that everyone listens, as I said, and that they also know kind of how to play mid game, and they ask, like after every scrim, like, what should I do here? And I'm like, I think you should do this, you should put wards here and whatever. And also, I mean, I align with coaching staff, which is number one priority, is like they kind of see the game same way as me or like similar. And yeah, I think it just works pretty well.
Yeah.
As well, there is one thing is like in this team, for example, if I call a dive bot and we all die and it was a bad call, usually when this happens, like in people's mind is like, what is my jungler doing? He's boosted. But when I do it and it fails on stage, I mean, it didn't fail on stage, but in scrims, it's like really positive, like really, okay, it's fine, let's try. And like we time summoners and we just play on, and I feel this is very good. But mid or top, like we failed so many dives in scrim, so many, that we go in the jungle and I'm like, okay, go fight, and we all die. And it's not like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's more like, okay, nice try, no flash. We can do it next time, And this is, I feel like, for me, it helped me a lot to just try things and to do things and to not be scared. So that's really good.
While it was brought up briefly earlier that there might have been some overconfidence last year for SK after Winter, I like what I'm hearing so far because it just sounds like you guys are approaching the game in a way without ego, which I think is always really tricky when you're a pro and you've learned so many things and you've seen so many things fail. I think it's hard the more that you play to do that. But it's cool to hear that you guys are maintaining. Obviously, it's much easier when you're winning, but it sounds like you were doing it before you were winning, just coming into the year. It sounds like you were already trying and failing dives and saying, hey, okay, what was wrong with the pitch? Why did it go wrong? Instead of, my jungler is boosted, we're doomed week one.
Basically,
Which happens a lot, to be fair. There's a lot of teams where that does happen, where the trust is already broken before you even set foot on stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was also made clear, like, from the beginning that, like, I mean, for me, when you sign 5 players, they will play together for the whole year unless something really terrible happens, right? So from the beginning, I was like, guys, look at your left and your right. This is the team you're going to play in this year. So if your teammate is shit or if you think it's shit, make sure it gets better because it's not going to get replaced. And if you don't like someone in your team for a year, it's not very good. So I think from the beginning, everyone knew and everyone knows that the goal is to make Worlds, not to be fine in Europe, because I think at this point at least personally, I don't care that much about Europe. I just want to go internationally. And I feel like when you have rookies on your team, that's what they should aim for from the beginning, because I feel like in LCK and LPL, that's kind of what they aim. They immediately aim to win Worlds. And I think that's why they're also like so disciplined, and when they go to Worlds, they're like so good, right? Like, I don't know, Zeus and like Ben and whatnot. I feel like all these rookies, when they go international, I feel like they're just better than the veterans or at the same level. And I think that's what I want to try, at least with the SK. But I mean, it's only first week, so we'll see how it goes.
Obviously,
that's the main plan.
It's a year-long project, right?
Basically.
We'll check in more times over the course of the year.
We'll see in 2 months, maybe we're 8th place,
and I frequently do. We're obviously a sucker for how things sound on papaper because we put heretics in A tier. So we obviously like the way things sound on paper. Yeah. So I like the theory there. I like that. While I'm always sad to hear when pro players don't want to celebrate the little successes on the way, because I think there's something about, like, from a life perspective, how you should enjoy the moments when you can. You should enjoy your 3-0 week 1. I also think it's a hard balancing act to find the ground between celebrating your successes and not like overindulging, not letting you grow an ego, knowing that nothing but Worlds matters, but also you can appreciate making it to top 4. You can appreciate making it to season final. So as long as you guys are growing and you're happy with your results, I think that's super cool. And I like the perspective. I hope that like that can continue as you move forward. You mentioned earlier mid-game, big problem for the team last year. Sounds like you guys are working on it. Sounds like it's being solved as you go.
Yeah.
When you compare the teams, and again, it's hard because it's week 1. And on paper, again, speaking of on paper, it's 1 week in a brand new season on a brand new patch. It's arguably the most scuffed week 1 of all time. So it's hard to know how much to take from this, but like, how do you feel? What do you feel like are the big things that you guys want to improve on, that you guys need to focus on kind of in the weeks to come to make sure that you can keep this momentum going?
I mean, I would say at this point for me, or like at least for the team, I think our mid game is fine. I don't think it's necessarily good, but I feel like there's some points where we're not pushing sides when we should, or like we fight really badly, like we use spells not in right directions, and like we don't coordinate, for example. And I mean, one more thing is I think our drafts have been pretty decent, I would say. But each week I want to add like more champs and whatnot, because when playoffs hit, you cannot just play one-dimensional style. I feel like it's rough. So now that we're in the 3-0 phase, I feel like we can look to expand our drafts. I hope at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think our mid game is fine. I think our early game, I mean, we have not lost an early game yet, I believe. But I think for me, at least, playing from behind is something I really want to learn. But I don't really want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
how do you practice
okay,
that?
guys, let's be behind this game, you know?
That's
but-
been the quote. The second you start to fall behind early, it's like, it's all deliberate.
It's
It's on
Nisqy.
purpose.
Yeah, you've heard it behind that. He's a giant mastermind. He actually intentionally fed in mid lane there when 3 people showed up and he overstayed. Well, he didn't overstay on wave. He was offering an opportunity for the team to grow.
But for example, I think that's very important. Like if you look at G2, I feel like they're probably the only team in EU that's really good at playing from behind. I feel like they come back a lot of games. They're very creative, and I think that's also one team we kind of looked at, right? Because even when we scrim them, you can see that in scrims they're also trying. So that's kind of what I hope we can achieve, at least in this weeks of scrims.
For you, Isma, that kind of a similar question, but just on yourself personally, because I know that's kind of where your focus is in the early game and as a jungler. Like, what are you working on individually to improve?
Okay, I really worked my early game coming into SK. I mean, I practiced it back with the coaches, like with especially Owner. This guy is like very good, like early game and all that stuff. He shows me replay and all that stuff. So I really worked this when I came. I feel now I reached a decent level in early game. So now, I mean, like Nisqy, it will be more like a mid game. Where do I need to be? Like, when can I base, when can't I base, and all that stuff. So I will really try to prac on this. And as Nisqy said, I think it's very, very important, I mean, in scrims, to play from behind as well, because I'm someone that likes to go in kinda and to engage, but that's fine if you are ahead, right? But if you are behind, you need to play a bit different, maybe a bit more smart. Like, you need to be patient and all that stuff.
When you're 5-0, a bad engage is still kind of a good engage, right?
But when you are from behind, it's way harder. So I really want to develop this as well. So I would say similar as Nisqy.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys, and I mean, unsurprisingly, again, based on a 3-0 week, are pretty happy with the core, and it's just about adding more things, whether it's options in draft, ability to play from behind, a bit you learning maybe mid-game a bit more where you can and can't be from an overall game perspective.
I think so. This is a bit of a question that kind of has been playing in my mind for a couple of pros, but it's like, especially Isma, you're coming in a bit new. Maybe this is an easier question for you, Nisqy, to ask, but it's like, over the course of your career, like, what would you like the fans and people to take away as like their memory of you, or what they believe your identity of you is? Like, what would you like your legacy to be left on the league to be?
Oh, you want
Either one of you can go first.
I can start. Me, like, I really want to be really aggressive player and kinda not scared. I think for now I did it fine, but I really want to continue and to push it, you know, like, especially not being scared. I think this is really, really broken, like in solo queue, in scrims, like in competitive, but in competitive even more, because when you walk in, people, even if you are alone, people will roll back most of the time. I was thinking, I mean, in ERL it was like this, and I was thinking in LEC it will be different, and I feel like it's a bit the same. And I only played 3 games though, so
again, that's kind of the asterisk on everything we talk about, right? Yeah.
But I still feel, as an overall point of view, I think it is like playing aggressive is really, really good and is better. So I really want this to
be,
I mean, I think for me, one thing that's pretty obvious, I think at this point, is like that I'm usually the junglers I play with, no matter where they're from, what they play, if they're rookies or whatnot, I feel like they play really good, or they look really good at least. I feel like I don't remember one jungler that I didn't have a synergy with, except actually Selfmade. I think Selfmade was the only player I felt like that was hard to like connect on, synergy-wise and whatnot, but I feel like in general, I don't want to say I'm really good playing with my jungler, but I think I am. And I think that's one of the things. And also I feel like in general, my team elevates their level, or like my teammates just play better. I mean, if you look at when I join a roster, how they look the year after, I feel like they just play better in general. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's my mood. Maybe I'm funny. Maybe they're just more comfy or whatnot. But yeah, I think that's the 2 things I would say.
Yeah. I think that perception is stuck, and I'm glad to hear that you like that perception too, because you never know. Some players hate like the reputation that they build over the time over the course of their career. You mentioned something that we were going to bring up, and so now's a good time to bring it up. I think is like, what do you think you do and Isma, you can talk about this too, what you think Nisqy does to allow you to work better with the junglers. And NA, they were talking, you're like the MVP maker. You know, you're the guy who, you're not going to get MVP, but your jungler sure as hell is. And like, what are you going out of your way to talk, to be social, to review with them? Like, what are you doing to make sure that you can work with your junglers? You're obviously, you're not watching anime together. We've learned Isma's not an anime guy. So you're not watching anime together. That's a classic in EU. But like, yeah, what are you doing to kind of build those relationships?
I can answer.
You can start, yeah.
Like, I mean, in game at least, it's like very, very positive, you know, and it's like, he gives me a lot of options, right? It's not like, come mid, it's like, okay, basically in game, I feel really free to play with Nisqy. For example, he will say, okay, mid is in a bad state right now, you can come, but you can also do like X, like I can do really whatever, and I feel really free. And it's like, even if he dies to a gank and I played bad, for example, I tracked bad the enemy jungler or whatever, it's like nothing negative, you know? It's like, okay, jungle use flash, it's fine. And then after we will review, you know? So it's very like positive vibes, and he gives me a lot of options, you know? I don't need to come mid. It's not like someone that will play for himself, like fully, like he can drop waves, he can take the pressure of the jungle, and this feels really good to play with. In the past, sometimes you play with players that really force you to be here, or they will die, or they will like grid and whatever, or they are negative, and it's really not what's happening, at least for now. So that's good.
I mean, I'm not sure what I do so much different than others because I don't.
You don't play with other mid laners, right?
But I think, I mean, for me, the main point was when I was watching Doinby. I think that's when I improved the most about playing around mid, just because I felt like when I was watching his streams and his VODs, like enemy mid wards there, then he knows there's a ward there for 2 minutes. He notes the ward, and he knows that at 4-0-2 there's no ward. Then he tells his jungler, you can come top side from here, or from bot side, he has no ward. And then when he tracks pings very well, he tracks sums. Like if I get ganked and we mid flashes, I can see my jungler still has flash. I'm telling him, okay, if you come mid and you flash on him in the next 5 minutes to this, he's probably dead. So I feel like I think my lane phase is pretty stable, which helps a lot, I would say. I think my jungle tracking is decent in general. And I feel like just my plan making around mid in general is just really easy. Like for example, in the Rogue, I knew he had a ward top side. I was like, if you gank on this timer where there's a cannon, he probably doesn't want to lose the cannon and the next 3 minions. But if he does, that's really good for me anyways. I feel like I just give a lot of options, and usually I'm pretty positive as well in game. So I think it also helps, right? Like if your mid laner is always asking for stuff and gives plans, but is like, if you don't come, like I might die, you know, or like if you don't come, I'll be angry or whatever. Think it doesn't help, but I feel like pretty chill in general. So like if you commit, I'm happy. If you don't, it's fine, you know.
From that attitude perspective, have you always been able to hold that mindset and that positivity? As long as I've known you and heard you in interviews or interviewed myself, I've always felt like you've been a pretty positive guy. Is that a difficult thing for you to hold? Have you just always kind of been this way as a player?
I mean, I think in general, yes. I mean, of course, I'm not perfect, right? I think for example, in Mad last year, it was sometimes hard where like I would either ego check whichever player, and then I would die and I'd be like, okay, why are you not here? You know? I mean, sometimes I can crack, right? But in general, I'm pretty chill, I would say. And then also, I think to add to the point that like, I think in this point, when I look at mid roll, I don't see it. I actually feel like I don't see it the same way that other mid see it. For me, for example, if I'm playing Azir, I have 3 items or like 2 items, and my Gwen is fed, for example, in the SK Rogue game, right? Gwen had 3 items, I had 2.5 or 3 even. And I know I can carry the fights if I just hit, but I know that if I just flash on one of their carries and my Gwen can go, then we'll win the fight. So I feel like I just have a broad view as well of like, how am I winning this game? Which is something I think mids don't necessarily do. They see their role as like, oh, I have to carry. I need like 12 CS a minute. But I feel like the one that does it in EU, that's pretty good. It's Caps.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just becomes the jungler, right? And then Yak becomes the mid. So I feel like, I think you just have to be very creative, and you need to understand how you want to win the games. And I feel like in EU, I like playing against Caps a lot because I think he pushes me to my limit, and I feel like I push him to his limits as well. So I think I like it a lot. And I think that's what LPL mids are really good at compared to, I would say, LCK mids. LCK mids is more like 14 CS a minute, like 300 CS at 25, and like 3 items against 2. But then LPL is like 160 at 20 minutes and like just fights left and right, all that stuff. Yeah.
The thing that I like there that I think I see a lot in LCK and LPL to a certain degree is like how adaptable teams are when it comes to identifying how they're winning the game.
Yeah.
That's why top laners, I think, are so oppressive in that region. Yes, obviously they're just very good, but then when the Renekton has a 2k gold lead, the team sets up the Renekton to play like he's turbo fed. It's because it's not as simple as just, oh, you have a gold lead, you can now take every single tower, right? But they do so well to recognize that this guy is super fed, he's got his item spikes, he's the king now. We play around this guy. And I think that's something that's often a struggle here where you'll see top laners build up 1,000 gold lead, and then it will just feel like nothing, feel meaningless. And then we'll go international, and the same thing will happen to us, and we've lost the game. You know. So I like that. I like that mentality, that adaptability, identifying where you're strong, playing around that player, sacrificing yourself for the greater whole. I think it's cool.
And I think it's been kind of sick to see because I obviously only joined like the last couple of years to LEC, but a lot of the narrative was, oh, for yourself was, oh, I'm a facilitator, I can help out. But even like I've been watching a lot of the games and it's like yourself against like, look, you didn't win the game against T1, but that Silas game, you popped the hell off. When you look at like Winter last...
It was Weibo, actually.
Oh, Weibo, sorry, Weibo. And then...
T1, not yet.
But then... watching then as well, like you had a couple of Victor games back in Winter as well. It definitely felt like you kind of had this switch that you could almost flick that was like, all right, boys, this one's on me. Let's just follow it. And I think that's really sick to see that adaptability in game to go like, you have that moment where you're like, I can just take this and go.
Yeah, I mean, I used to struggle a lot playing like control mage. And like, I mean, when I play a lot of Lissandra, TF, Gragas, Galio, like setup mids.
Yeah.
And then you have to play the Victor or the Orianna where you just scale for 15 minutes and you rely on your team to make space for you and whatnot. I feel like it's another role. And I feel like your communication is also way different. Like if you cannot go first, then your other teammates have to know what they're supposed to do and whatnot. But I feel like now I won't say I'm complete player because I think I'm close to it, right? But I feel like I can still do better at that. And I think, I mean, you can see it in EU. I think, for example, when you see the Azir players or Orianna, I would say only some of them are like really good at it, right? Like I think if I think of Ori, it's like Humanoid and probably Larsen, I would say, are like the best at it, right? You can see the difference when they play it and other players play it. So yeah, I think that's the next step is to carry, maybe. Because I mean, when I play Azir, I have 9k damage. All my team makes fun of me, you know? And then I tell them, guys, like we won the game, you know? So
Big
yeah.
cope. On the subject of this like flexibility and playstyle, Isma, you talked a lot about how like you want to be the aggressive guy. But we've seen in the past, there inevitably will be a jungle meta at some point where your job is to sit in the jungle and power farm and outpath people, sure, but really just like worry about camps, etc., and be less about ganks. Do you feel like you're ready to do that as well, to break out the Karthuses if need be?
Yes. I mean, a fun fact is when I started in ERL, so I started at Schalke, and at that time I was a full AFK farm, kinda. It's like full AFK farm, playing Diana, Karim, Wukong, full AFK farm. And then I joined Movistar. And when I joined Movistar, my coach, Melzet, really helped me to be more aggressive. And so I saw more windows and all that stuff. And I really liked it. So now I'm like this, but I feel like I can switch. And it's just about like what will make you win the game, right? If I play Lilia, obviously, you know, then I will farm more. I will think about farm more and all that stuff. But for now, I don't feel, and maybe a bit, but for now, I don't feel it's the priority. Like I will put aggressive first, then second efficiency, because I feel like even if you have, like it's like in every role, right? It's not like 20 CS more that will make you win the game, but I feel it's like a good gank, a good engage or whatever that will make you win the game.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, obviously, to be a better player, you need to be
adaptable.
Yeah, exactly, like both, you know. So,
well, I'm really glad that the game is not in a space right now where you are just power farming endlessly, because
just with LCK and then
just with LCK, and then maybe we lose to them. But I'm okay with that because again, I cast this league, and I would really like to talk about anything because I don't want to ever have to cast that Hysterics Rogue game that we saw this weekend where they did nothing for like 40 minutes.
No.
Poor Hysterics. I feel like they played 2 out of 3 like the worst games this weekend.
And then he got the pauses.
And it's not their fault. And
they
got the pauses. They got the Rogue game, which is hands down the worst game of the split so far. That was rough across the board. But yeah, honestly, guys, it sounds like everything's coming together pretty well. 2 things left. First, I want to hit up some Twitter questions, and then we'll talk a little bit about week 2, upcoming opponents, and give everyone a preview of what's on the way. But we'll start with my favorite Twitter question, because this guy's a comedic genius.
Comedic genius.
And I wish I had thought of this. Andre at Twitter, at Andromaro. So, Nisqy, theoretically, if you were half as good as you are annoying, do you think you would have won Worlds last year?
I love it.
There's no answer here. The question is the joke. You don't have to say anything. For those who missed it, that's exactly what Elyoya tweeted at him, was that if he was half as... So, there it is.
Actually, I love Spanish fans sometimes. They're pretty funny.
We already talked about a lot of these, so shout out to everyone who asked about Nisqy's connection with junglers. We discussed that earlier. CN at CN Applesean. I'm mispronouncing your name. I apologize. Isma, for you specifically, were you surprised when you were able to perform that well on stage? We already talked about your nerves a little bit. And we already talked a little bit about Nisqy helping you. So the core of this question is just, were you caught off guard by how well it all worked out on stage? Were you scared that you were just going to get jungle gapped in those first few games?
To be honest, I think I didn't play that well. I think I did fine, but not like insane. I think my team played really well as well. Like everyone. We don't talk a lot about Exa, but I feel like he smurfed so hard, like those. I mean, we talk about the bad game before, but I mean, he failed some things, but in the map it was like really good, and with Renata as well. So I don't feel like I played that well. I feel I did fine. I wouldn't say I was scared because I really tried to prepare myself the best as I can. So I was not scared, and I mean, I was happy that I could play good, but I think I still have a lot to go, to be honest. So I wouldn't say I was surprised. Like, I knew I could do this, and my team played really well as well, so that's good.
Yeah. All right, looking very far forward. Most of these questions are pretty fun. They're pretty low stakes.
Okay.
Lunar Day from the Discord says, can you give us a pitch on why SK will beat NA at MSI? Where EU fans are very sad. They still haven't let go. Are you ready to face down and take out NA if it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, I am. I mean, one, I need the revenge against Jojo, that's for sure. So I really hope Sinan makes it to MSI if we make it. And I mean, yes, I think EU's level should be way higher than NA, in my opinion.
I agree.
The should is there. But I do think, to be fair, that the Sinan roster on paper is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
I think they will stomp NA.
No, you're fine.
And yeah, I mean, I really want to play NA. I think it would be good if we can go to MSI as well, just because of international experience, right? For these rookies. I'm not that old yet. But
sorry, I'm not trying to make you
we'll
old,
beat
man.
NA for sure. After G2's failure,
you have to. Redemption.
We have to.
Yeah. Isma, just a really quick follow-up about international performance. I assume you're mostly excited to play the LCK and the LPL teams. How do you feel about the age-old NA-EU rivalry? Or do you get nervous, like, thinking about potentially messing it up? Or do you care? Like, how do you feel about that?
To be honest, I don't care at all.
I feel like it's an old blood thing. Like, now that, like, the ERLs are around, you have all these regional, like, no one cares anymore.
I don't care at all, to be honest. I just don't. And I just want to play good first in LEC, and then eventually if we get international, that's good. But I just want to play good overall, I don't really care about what do I play. I mean, it will be more fun, obviously, if it's LCK and all that stuff, because it's like, I look them and like with another eyes, let's say. But I don't really mind.
Yeah, you don't want to punch down. I get it. Yeah,
of course, because they don't stand a chance. There's no point. There's no point, right? Like, it's like you already left ERLs. Why would you go back? Bunch of people asked about Nisqy Elyoya. We talked about it earlier in the episode, so don't worry about that.
Actually, people call me the villain now.
Why people call you the villain?
Spanish people call me the villain because I flamed them usually.
Yeah,
and then I beat them. So now they have to come back and beat me again.
Yeah.
But I don't like to be the villain.
You don't want to be the villain?
I'm not a villain type.
You're not? Yeah, it's not. I feel like that would be bad casting to put you as a villain.
The villain, no. But
nothing about you says villain to me. Look, man, who am I to stop the fans from making the narratives?
Yeah.
It just gives me more options to pull from when I need to find the next time to say Legacy Dynasty. You're going to go up on stage. You're going to, after this episode, we're going to have this nice heart to heart, and you're going to hear it as you walk out. The villain of the LEC.
We're going to give you a fake mustache.
So they're going to Photoshop all of your player photos, so you have the big curly mustache, and so you look angry. Oh yeah, brace yourself.
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's hard for me to know because people jump to their own conclusions kind of very quickly on limited information, right? Because when you tweet having a great day, smiley face, that could mean you're having a great day. It could also mean you're having the worst day of your life, right? Like Twitter and like text communication in general is so useless for context. So yeah, was it banter on Twitter? Is Elyoya actually upset at you? I don't know.
I do also love how in-depth it is with like, they're taking like little frame by frame screenshots going he glanced at him for 0.353 seconds.
And if I Google this book of psychology that I didn't study, but I can search for phrases, that's exactly what this means. Like people are committed. People will go to school and get a degree in studying human faces just to figure out if Nisqy's angry at someone or not. Yeah, it's just like, that's actually, if you're in college and you can make your thesis, should Nisqy have smiled at MSI? I will love you forever. We'll bring you on the show for a shout out to talk about it. That would be the funniest thing ever. Last question. Your manager said I had to ask this. Question for Nisqy. Gragas mid or jungle?
Oh, I'm not gonna comment on that one.
What's the meat? Can you explain? I don't know what the meat. If you can't comment, don't comment.
No, it's a French meme. It has to say between the French community.
Okay, all right.
If you guys want to figure it out, you can translate my tweets and whatever. But I'm a Gragas mid.
Okay, there you go.
Unless your name is Froscoe, maybe you should go jungle. But
that
was free.
Throw a shot. Just a little layup, a little swish. All right, guys. Next week, schedule coming up, which I'm now struggling to pull up. Rob, do you have it on hand?
Yes. Your schedule for following week is
Heretics,
Giants,
Giant
X,
BDS.
and BDS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. How you guys feeling? Any matchups you're particularly nervous about? Who do you think is going to be your hardest opponent next week? It's it's an interesting mix. I would say it's all teams that I would expect to be fighting for middle of the pack, but I did expect KC to be fighting for top of the pack, and they're now 0-3. So who knows?
Especially since Heretics are an A-tier team. How do you feel?
How do you feel as a C-tier team going up against an A-tier team this week? Sorry, again, the C was kind of wrong on that one.
Do you want to start?
Who are you the most excited to face this weekend?
I can start. Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to play because we play versus Heretics. It's Jankos, right?
Yeah.
Like it's someone that I watched when I was like a kid, let's say, like this watching the LEC. And I think maybe the one I'm the most hyped to face is Sheo, because I played versus him when I was in Division 2 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. And I'm French, he's French, so I think it will be really fun. And overall, I really like the BGS team because I feel it's not like us, but a bit similar. Like I feel they have a really positive vibe. I feel like they are all friendly to each other and they are friends. I feel like, and even if we didn't expect them last year to make it far, they did it. So I think this team is really good, and it will be really fun for me to face them. Because as well we faced 3 French. We are 3 French in our team. So it will be really fun. And besides this, I will also be play versus Giants, and I played versus Peach. I lost versus him in EMEA Master Spring, like 2-3. So it will be fun to take the revenge. Versus him.
I like it. I like all these little personal rivalries you're building up. Is there anything that's exciting or special? Or are you kind of just like 1 week at a time? We'll just see.
I mean, for me, it's Perks. I mean, because I did say he was really washed. I mean, I still believe that he's really washed. But I mean, I have to beat him to prove it.
Yeah, it would be kind of embarrassing at this point if you lost and then
we're not losing to Heretics. It's not happening.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you call Perks wash? Is that something that a villain would do? Mustache. You gotta grow it out. Sorry.
I mean, I think Heretics will be fun to play against. And then, I mean, Giants, I really want to see how Jackis does on stage. Because I feel like in scrims he plays very aggressive. I want to see if he's the same on stage or if he's gonna back out a bit.
Back out, yeah.
If I go forward. And then, I mean, BDS, I think is really fun. Because of Frenchies. I mean, I think Nuke is really good, to be fair. So for me, it's important to still, be stable in lane and whatnot. And I think Nuke is probably very good, I would say. Is one of the best mids. And I also want to see Adam against Irrelevant, just because I think Irrelevant is one of the best tops in EU, and I think he needs to beat Adam if he wants to go like one step higher. When he beat Oscar, now it's Adam's turn, and then week 3 it's probably BB. So I want to see that, and then I think that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Well, LEC kicks off this weekend again. 5 p.m. CET is our starting time for game 1. Ready check starting at 4:30. Tons of exciting games. We're kicking off with Vitality versus Rogue. Fighting a little bit at the bottom here. But then obviously game 2 will be SK versus Team Heretics. If you want to watch Nisqy versus Perks. The villain versus the old man. However you want to phrase that. However you want to set that up.
Actually, we scrimmed Vit.
Yeah.
We're playing in-house against Perks.
Yeah.
Not Vit, actually. Yeah, against Perks. And then, I don't know, I was talking about how old he was.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he was my age or he was even younger than me. Then I was like, I guess I did get I guess I am pretty old now, so I have to stop it.
You got to slow it down, man. One step at a time. You'll be 30 soon. Don't worry, it's coming. Anyway, this has been EUphoria Podcast Episode 2. Thank you guys both so much for coming on. Congrats again on the 3-0 first week. Hope it continues as we head into week 2.
Hopefully.
Yeah, excited to watch you guys play. If you've been watching in podcast land, thanks so much for checking it out. We'll be back next week with more EUphoria.